Hello and welcome to the Blatantly Obsessive Media Makers podcast, where we are existing in a place where shit is well beyond my fucking comprehension. I'm SnakeJess Straws. I do art stuff on the internet, and this is my co-host.
Julian, as in Julian, my Julian. And, I've been having a pretty crazy start of the year. So crazy that I haven't really been drawing as much as I wanted to. Like a person addicted to a drug, I've crawled back to Far Cry, which is just crazy because, like, Far Cry games are almost like having a video game job. You're going this way and that way, and you're following around like objectives. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Why am I wasting my leisure time on this, checklist game?
Oh, I know how that feels. I've been still playing Trading Card Shop Simulator, and it's like it's so weird. I don't even know if I'm playing it at this point because I just set it up and like open 1,000 packs, which I have mods to let me open, like hold more packs at once and set them up to open, and it takes like 20 minutes to open. So I kind of just set it and forget it and go do other stuff. But I don't know why the game has its little grips in me, and it's like this is not a productive way to spend my time, and it's also literally a job.
I'm starting to feel like I understand streamers, because if you're playing a game like that, you should at least be getting paid to play it. Like,
yeah.
Film yourself just staring at the game for 8 hours, call it performance art, and someone will blow smoke up my ass and say it's the death of free will and late stage capitalism, and I'll have made $2,000.
Yeah, I've been meaning to play some Cyberpunk again. I've got it installed and everything, but I've not got around to it yet. And also, I picked up Dave the Diver because that looked like fun, but I've not touched it yet. And Fields of Mystery. I've got a lot of games that are on my list of things to play, but I've just not been playing games enough.
Dave the Diver did look interesting to me. I played the limited time event for it that they had in Niki. It was like a crossover between Dave the Diver and Niki. And they had like a mini version of that game in the mobile game. And I wonder, like, how many people played that and then went and bought the game.
Could be.
It's not an expensive game, so probably a lot.
Yeah, it's a pretty cheap little game, and I got it on sale too, so it's extra cheap. But I've heard lots of good things about it.
I think one critique I've heard consistently of it is that it has a thing that a lot of games like to do, where there's a sort of non-committal to any particular loop. Like Dave the Diver asks you to do a bunch of stuff, and not all of them are, I guess, as baked as a lot of people would like. But I kind of like that. I like variety.
Yeah.
If something is like underbaked, maybe they'll cook it more in the sequel or in like a patch or something. Like maybe people who played at launch just weren't getting the full experience, but anyone playing now, maybe they are.
Yeah, I tend to be pretty forgiving for features not being fully baked, fleshed out, especially if it's like a cheaper game and if it's a game that offers a lot of variety in gameplay, or it's providing like an interesting mix. I tend to be pretty forgiving of that. Like in Cult of the Lamb, one of the big criticisms it gets is that it's like neither side is really fleshed out quite enough for some people, either the cult management aspect or the roguelike like weapon gameplay. Yeah, so some people have like they don't like that it's so. Yeah, I think it's like a kind of happy place. Like it could be better, and I wouldn't be mad at it being better. But I'm also fine with it as it is. Parts of it are a little jank, but
right.
It's also not meant to hold my time forever. It's it's like a $25 game. If I get 20 hours out of it, I'm probably pretty happy with that. I don't need it. I don't know how much most people expect to get out of a game,
Yeah. I feel like for my money, I want at least 40 hours out of a game. Thankfully, with Steam tracking, I can see how much time I've invested into a particular game, unless it's a non-Steam game. For some reason, Valve just refuses to give any tracking for that kind of stuff. But once I reach that like 40, 50 hour mark for a game, I usually am able to decide, am I still having fun or is it time to move on to something else?
Mm-hmm. I'm like 100-something hours into Trading Card Shop Simulator. I never thought I'd say that. It keeps asking me to review the game. It's like, you played this game for a few hundred hours. You want to recommend it? And it's like, I don't know. I kind of want to play it for 1,000 hours and then say, yeah, no, don't fuck with this. Just because it'd be really funny.
I have dreams about doing that for all of those Arkham games, but I unfortunately don't play them enough to ever possibly achieve that.
Yeah, you'd have to Elon levels of paying people to have the game open for you.
Yeah. On that subject, though, I am going to turn on my gaming PC and download Arkham just so I have it. It's doing its little boot up now. But on the subject of Arkham, we both have read Absolute Batman, right?
Yes. Yes, we have both read that this week. And it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It took us a little step back. And it kind of brought us back to it right at the end. So last issue kind of left, like, where were we last issue? The last issue leave off with the phone call, or was it with him?
He was taking a call. I assume it was Black Mask or someone from Black Mask camp with an offer to, I guess, do ill deeds and in the name of Black Mask. And it's like, whoa, where's this going? And I guess they are holding that in their pocket. So they want to keep us hooked. So in this issue, we go into, I guess, Bruce's past and I guess how his mind functions generally.
Yeah, we got to see some more of his kind of like early adventures as Batman.
And how he approaches problems as a engineer. He has big engineer brain, which is quite a step up from previous Batman characters. I never got the impression that Bruce Wayne was like a guy that actually made his own gadgets.
Yeah, I like that. I like them leaning into that. I especially loved that bit with him on the road with I loved how janky they made his costumes look throughout this period.
Yeah.
It kind of homaged cheesier kind of eras of this character a little bit. I'm trying to pull up the issue now real quick just so I can call out the specific ones.
I particularly like that one bit where he like makes himself look literally like a man bat.
Oh yeah,
and then he bites that one guy.
That was the very first one. So what I liked about this too is it also has elements of invoking those classic short stories. Oh, this is how I saw the Batman, and then doing it in like the different styles of it, where everyone has like a different memory of it. It's kind of like another like an homage to that because it's told in a series of vignettes, but it's not. It's being told kind of like as him remembering. But yeah, there's this gang. They're like doing a protection racket. Some people won't pay. He attacks them. He's dressed up as a vampire. He's got the teeth. He looks. This design I feel like is pulling a lot from like the early Batman, like the early original Batman design. I'm gonna post a screenshot of that, and then let's see Batman #1. Let's see if I can find what his costume looked like really quick. Or Detective Comics.
I feel like I remember it being very loose and
it's very loose. It's
wider ears.
Yeah, it has like kind of wider ears. the symbol is like the symbol's kind of like that too. It's a little bit. It evoked it to me. Maybe it's not perfect 1-to-1.
The curvature of the year is definitely evocative of that.
Yeah.
Looking at it now.
And so I like that vibe. I like that they did that, and that was cool. And then they play into it more. And then I like the backdrop too, where they had his dad there talk. I thought it was really cute, that little nod to had he been a doctor in another life.
Yeah.
But how they tied this this version of him as a teacher to his like core character was very interesting to me. Let's see his second bout. Oh yeah, where he's in the middle of the thing. I like the costume. He's a bit bulkier by now. He's put on some muscle mass, but I like that he looks bulky, but he still looks kind of sciencey with the gadgets. He like reminds me of Night Owl a little bit, except bulky instead of like fat. Um, he gets rid of them. That's quite good. I don't know. I didn't. The whole bat bridge thing model thing didn't really do much for me. I like this. I like the dad side of that conversation pretty good, but I didn't really care much for like whatever weird thing Bruce has going on with bats and bridges. But
I think that might have been part of it. Like, oh, he's always been a weird kid. I think it was written in a way to kind of be difficult to parse on the surface.
yeah, it was good. I liked his whole speech at Joe Chill. Them doing the bats. I like that they're hinting at making this Batman weirder. The whole thing about the bat adapting and being weird and different. And then they show him what he's got, like arm stilts or something that he's making.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that is, but you know it's going to be a wild ass trip. I look forward to the most insane, wacky, oh, this is so extra Batman antics we've ever gotten before. And I think he's even kind of hinting at that with his little bit where he's like, "Oh, was the blade in the wing too much?" Or he's
Yeah,
like,
that
he's
kind
like
of seemed like a
secret
reader nod.
buzzsaws. And then at the very end of it is like they're kind of riffing on Batman Year One, where he's there watching all the politicians and stuff, and he breaks in and does his speech like the feast is over kind of thing. He
Yeah.
doesn't break in and do the speech here, but we see him do his thing where he's like watching and observing and seeing the corruption in the seats of power and stuff. I thought that was really good. And then it ends, I guess Adult Him is there to see who I presume is Joe Chill in prison, and we'll see where that goes. I don't know. I'm interested. I liked it. It was I mean, all the absolute titles so far, I feel like have just been hitting it out of the park, getting better every issue. So I'm stoked. I'm interested. It's definitely one of my favorite pools every month because they managed to pack. Scott Snyder really has a talent for packing content into a story without making it feel packed.
Yeah, it's been exciting to read. I like the artwork too. It has this element of like using different kinds of shape building. Like in this one page screenshot that you posted, I like how the fills are not like completely filled in. And so like whatever is under the lines is moving in the same direction as the motion. And then the watercolor washes for the backgrounds is also very cool.
Yeah.
It's a good contrast against the heavy inking that's going on.
Yeah. And the color palettes that they've got going on is really good. Yeah, just all around very all around very good issue for Batman. I want apps. I don't know like what the whole plan is for it long term, but I want Absolute to go on for ages because I think it's a really fun universe. And
at least 50 issues. Like I want to be able to stack a few books together.
Yeah, I want to get a big old absolute Batman omnibus in 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it'll be more like 7 years because you got to give him some time to build up that issue count. But yeah, that I know, like, you know how like Ultimate Marvel, they have like, in about a year there's going to be a big event because they've already set it up. We don't really
Right.
know if there's anything like that for Absolute. So that's kind of like another interesting difference between them. We very much are just kind of I think they're all doing their own thing. So we'll see what they each individually cook up. And Marvel, we've got one big event kind of looming over us.
And that's interesting to think because we know it's coming. And so what's that's
Right?
why they've got hit on it.
Yeah, where's it going next? That's the and like you want to part of you wants to guess, but there's really not a point in guessing because it's going to be something insane you can't even guess because part of the piece of it will be in the event itself most likely.
It also like really lends it to the overall appeal of comics as a medium because anything, literally anything can happen. When they announced Mr. Fantastic, a bunch of people were pointing out like stills and screen grabs of like what the Mr. Fantastic playable model is doing in Marvel Rivals and going, did he ever actually do this in the comics? And the overall like consensus stock response has been probably like, have you actually read any of those comics? He does all kinds of crazy stuff.
I love there's memes where it's like silence comic readers. A person who has never read comics is talking.
Yeah,
I've
I
seen
see
many
conversations
variations
like
of
that
these,
all the time
but
on Discord.
it is very good. Oh man, there's a one thing I like to keep in mind. This is only tangentially related, but it's a phrase that comes up in my memory a lot. Is Scott Snyder says, uh, the only stuff that's really canon that really matters is what people remember because that's what'll get referenced and talked about and thought about and brought up again in stories down the line.
True.
And I don't know how that fits here, but it is something to keep in mind. I get right here's how it fits because the continuity that the people outside of comics are going to get is going to be the most memorable stuff for the most part. They're going to get the most. We're always going to export the gold from the comics. It is interesting. It is like a farming ground for like cool ideas and concepts and stuff, essentially.
Which reminds me, just on the subject of like stuff that people remember, when it comes to Spider-Man, I keep referencing the Superior Spider-Man run. Like, for my money, that was the last time Spider-Man was like really good. Um, Not to be mean to all the people who have been working on Spider-Man since then, but recently there was a manga made. I think it's still ongoing, but I think it started like late 2023, Spider-Man Octopus Girl. And it's a story about Dr. Octopus, but it's that he goes into a coma and then wakes up in the body of a Japanese middle schooler.
Oh my god.
And it is basically just that thing that I like all over again, but as a slice of life manga with some action elements. And I've only read a few chapters of it, but I think it's pretty good. I like the artwork. I like the girl that he's like Yu-Gi-Oh style possessing. And then you just know eventually at some point, Spider-Man's going to come up. What's going to happen? But I feel like that whole concept is pulling explicitly from the book that I bet Marvel looked at some kind of metric data and was like, this is what most people care about. So we will greenlight this.
And I think it sold well. It played well too, because it got into like cultural consciousness. It was such a wacky idea. They reference it in Big Bang Theory.
Oh, wow.
And my dad was like, oh, is that a real thing? And I'm like, yeah, no, that's a real thing that happened in the comics. But they're making a joke like it was stupid, but it was actually really sick and cool.
It was super cool. I love referencing how Norman Osborn like immediately clocks that like something is wrong and then decides to take advantage of the fact that it's Otto Octavius.
Yeah,
he doesn't know it's Otto Octavius, but he's like, I've seen this pattern of behavior before. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. I love it. The whole time he's setting up that whole like army of stuff that can't be seen by the spider bots he has monitoring the town. That's so good. I can't wait to go back. I know there's a lot of people that really don't like Slots Run. I like Slots Run. I think everything up to Slots Run's really good. I enjoy it all. It's after that things do fall off. After that, Nick Spencer, I feel like, took over shortly after. Oh, real quick too, I love that Spider-Man Life Story adapts Superior Spider-Man, which just goes to show you how much of a core canon storyline that is now.
Yeah.
It's that much
as opposed to what's that one everyone hates, Brand New Day?
Yeah, Brand New Day isn't really loved. I mean, it didn't have the hell. It was hurt by the fact that it was immediately following One More Day, which took away the marriage. Yeah. So, like, of course, everyone was going to hate it. But for what it's worth, it has, like, decent-ish stories in it. It just represents a huge regression. But yeah, no, just bam. I did another example of that whole canon thing is the original story with the symbiote was a lot different than how it's sort of become over time. The stuff where him getting more aggressive with the suit and things like that were all added later in the animation, the 90s animated show. And then later got pulled into the movie. And now it's kind of in the canon in the comics too a bit. But
just a bit,
people, people write it kind of as if that's the case, but it wasn't the case in the actual text. But it's kind of written like it is the case now. And like when they do stories that go back to that time period, I think they kind of play with that in mind. But it is interesting to see some stuff like that. Whenever something from like outside the comics makes its way back in, like Superman flying was an invention for the radio. Kryptonite was an invention from the radio program. So, Harley Quinn was a 90s Batman animated series original character. And now look where she is as far as comics popularity. It's always...
Yeah, now she's like a kind of not really anti-hero, but also definitely really.
She's real
after a decade of solo books.
Yeah, she's straight up an A-lister now. So wow, she made the big leagues. She shattered the glass cover or whatever they call it. I don't know what you call.
She now has a license to print money, which is what gets us stuff like the fart book. Has that started printing yet?
Oh my God, I can't believe that the fart book exists. That's that I can't believe the fart book exists. Fart book, Harley Quinn. Let's see when this is coming out, if it's not already out.
I'm not a fan of the concept, but I feel like the writing must be deadly. At least like the least amount of clever. Like maybe it'll have some sort of rhyming motif, maybe.
So, okay, listen. The title is Harley Quinn, silent but with 2 T's, deadly. Okay, it's that's
because like it's not a book you can sell to kids. I wouldn't, at least.
But it feels like this is exactly the kind of thing you would, because it's not like, I guess it depends how overtly said, because like fart humor is for kids. Like that is a kid thing.
Yeah.
I don't know when it comes out yet, but the previews only came out in December, so I feel like it can't be out until April Fool's Day or something. I don't know.
Cover date says May, so it could go either way.
Yeah. Well, rest assured that when that comes out, it will be covered on the program, dear listeners.
Yeah, so
We
get
will
subscribed
smell it.
today to find out what we think of the Fartacular.
Yeah. If you want to know what we think about a Harley Quinn and her. Wow, I'm so misogynist. For gastrointestinal health and habits, we'll be here. We got you. We're on that grind like nobody's business, reading these Harley Quinn books.
Let's see, who's the writer? Joanne Starrer.
Yeah, I don't recognize them.
Is he credited with Fire and Ice? I read some of that. Sirens of the City, haven't read that.
It is just a one shot, at least. It could have been a series.
I mean, if it sells well, I wouldn't blame DC for saying, oh boy, 12 more of these, please.
Oh, she's been writing Poison Ivy since 2022 till now, apparently.
And Vampirella.
Yeah, and I see she has some book called The Gimmick. It seems to be some wrestling book. It's for Ahoy Comics. I'm only assuming it's wrestling based off some of the covers. I love Ahoy Comics. They're one of my favorite publishers. They're always publishing good stuff. So she's got books over there. She's at least talented, I feel like. Oh, she has some one-shots and Epitaphs of the Abyss. I love that series. That's a EC Comics series that's like an anthology horror series. Each book is 3 different short horror stories. They're on like 6 or 7 issues right now. So that is
looks
cool.
Interesting.
Sirens of the City, I have that trade paperback, actually. I've not read that yet. I started it. Actually, maybe I did read it. I think I took it with me when I went to DC, but I can't remember if I read it in the flight or not. I know I read some other stuff I took with me then too. So yeah, no, I mean, she's got, she's not a nobody. She's been around. She's been writing comics since 2013 at least, 2010 even. Oh wow, even some credits on something from 1997. I don't know. She must have been. Anyway, that is cool. Let's see. What else have I been reading this week? I read the all new Venom #2.
Oh boy, how's that going?
Okay. Lots of fun this week. So we still don't know who it is. Something happens. We get to see there's little Marvel action with some superhero group. It's really not that important. We get to see some silly supervillain designs, like this pirate lady who's a little ridiculous. This guy who looks like a sports mascot or something. I don't know. They get their butts beat. It's not really important to the plot. The only important thing is that this happens, and coincidentally, 3 of the 4 people that we think could be Venom right now all don't have alibis. So those 3 are at each other's throats. That those 3 being Luke Cage. I forget his other name, but he's the guy from who was Bucky Barnes once and has also been like on with the Hulk family and stuff. Samson something, I think that's his name. And then Robbie from the Daily Bugle. Anyway, so they're still working their things out. What's really got people talking about this issue though is the Dylan half of it. So Dylan is living with Mary Jane and Paul. And Dylan does not like Paul that much. The fan base kind of loves it. So he calls him a weirdo. He makes fun of his vegan food. He's like investigating the whole Venom thing. He's like, oh, I'm gonna figure out if Madame Mask is Venom. I'm gonna go find some house or whatever. He wants to make him mad and get sent to his room. So he tells him, hey, how stupid do you have to be to get fooled by a pair of imaginary kids? Kind of poking fun at his whole past, how he met up with MJ in them. And he does it with this face. It's so fucking funny. People were talking about this book. Spider-Man fans were talking about this book all week. They're like, Dylan's our hero. They love Dylan. Look at this snarky ass face. They are the audience. This is the audience reading this book.
That is a pretty good face. I haven't seen a mean face like that since I want to say early Runaways. Yeah, actually, he kind of looks like Chase. That's cool.
It is very teenager pilled. He gets sent to his room for his insolence, which is exactly what he wants because he sneaks out. Here's a fire escape outside his window. So I don't know how they didn't see this coming. But he sneaks out, and of course they notice that he has snuck out. He sneaks out. He goes to the place where he was going to go, and there's villains there waiting to ambush Venom, who does show up. They start fighting, and the issue ends. So not tons of stuff. We still don't know who the new Venom is. Dylan seems convinced it's not Luke Cage now. I don't know if we can trust that assessment or not.
Right.
But assuming we can take it at face value, that means we've knocked off at least one person from the list. But yeah. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it. I think the Paul stuff is really fucking funny. I like that he's here now and they just have to fans just have to deal with it. It's very funny. But I tell you what, this book got way more discourse than it would have otherwise.
Yeah, because I wasn't super interested in reading the new Venom after the last event. I'm like, okay, I think I get it now. I'll wait for the next event and then see if I care enough to read back. But I can see a bunch of people tuning in based on the association, the Amazing Spider-Man book. Like the fact that Paul and Mary Jane are there, everyone's probably going, oh, wow, is this going to cross over with the other book? Or just, I'm assuming it's all pure hate of Paul.
Yeah, it's all it's all just, well, so far they're supposedly helping him with his Venom search, but yeah, no, it's not. It's only just been him kind of being there, and then in the background, MJ and Paul are always kind of low key fighting. Paul's very yeah, MJ the whole time they're in there, the whole background bit is they're fighting, and MJ's like, well, I'm sorry, that my other job comes first. I'm not gonna not help people in need. And she throws out the whole great power, great responsibility line. He's like, why do you always have to bring your ex into this? And, and so you can see exactly how their relationship goes in the comics right now. It's a very funny place that they have found themselves in. I've not read MJ's solo book. I do not read MJ's solo book. I don't know how things are going for her there.
Yeah, I think those have to be bundled into a trade for me to decide to read those.
I'll be honest, I don't think they'll ever get me to read them. It'll be a cold day in hell when I think when they somehow managed to squeak a must-read story into that title.
Stranger things have happened. I've read all kinds of wild stories from what I assumed would be absolute nothing burger books.
Yeah, you can always be surprised. So let's see, what else did I read this week? I got into, so this is a Robert Kirkman book. It's in the same it's in the Energon universe, which is the continuity where all of Skyward's Transformers and G.I. Joe books are in. I believe the G.I. Joe books are in there. They might be their own continuity. But I know that Transformers is in the same continuity. But it's like a unique story that's its own thing. But I caught up with that recently. I read like issues like 12. I think it's on issue like 14. I have the last two singles, but I read what was in the first two trades, and it was pretty cool. So the basic setup here is there's like this ring that is like orbiting or built around like a black hole, and two societies live on it. Uh, a Zeratonian society and a Gorian society. And we first see them in like spacesuits, so we almost think they're robots. Two of them, they each have sent one pilot to this asteroid because it has a bunch of water, and both sides want to get the water, but they crash there and get stuck, and they're stranded. And they end up, even though they hate each other, they end up like helping each other to survive. But then they take off their masks, and they realize that they're actually the same. They've never seen members of the other side before. They just heard stories about how dangerous they are. So seeing that, they decide to, I don't know, it kind of shatters their illusions about what's going on in their world.
Yeah.
And both these people are kind of important. One's a warrior on the other side, and one's the best pilot for one of them. And one side seems to be particularly poorer than the other side. Like they have way fewer resources, and the ruler seems to be more despotic. But both sides know the secret already. Both leaderships do, and they hide it on purpose. And we don't really know why yet. But they end up making it back to the ring. And they go to one of the sides, they get imprisoned, they escape, and they get into this wasteland. They get out there, and they manage to survive. Everyone always dies, but he knows there's something out there, but he doesn't know what, because one of the characters had been there and survived before. And eventually we run into a transformer. It's fucking cool. It's just like a random ass transformer. It's not a huge name, I don't think. But he's out there. They meet up. He's been stranded there a long time. They meet two, actually. They meet one on the asteroid before they get back. And they wake him up, and he's like, oh, shit, I got to dip. And then just leaves. He just fucking leaves. It's like, we need help getting off this asteroid. We're stranded. It's like, oh, sorry, dude. I've been asleep for like a million years. I got to get home later. And the second one does help them, and it's really cool. So that has been really sick. I've been liking that a lot. The art's good. The premise is interesting. There's this like background character who's this kind of really sad comedic relief. His name's Skunksoid, and he's like a little I don't know, he's like an alligator, I guess, kind of like a little alligator humanoid anthropomorphic alligator person. Skullsoid.
This is a new development to me. Have furries been a thing in Transformers before?
I don't know, but this universe, they're in here now. Like, I'm opposed to this guy. And, he's talking about his wife and kids, and then he comes home. There's no wife. There's no kids. We don't know if they ever existed. He's very depressed. Yeah. He's very, what is this all for anyway? And he's got a bunch of stuff going on in the background. He's going back and forth from the... Oh, yeah, here it is. This is the montage of him going home. It's so sad. It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's a wild book. It's very fun. I can't wait to see where this all goes.
I appreciate it when writers write this kind of story about space travel, because it punctuates why we should not be going into space and need to preserve what we have, because you don't want to be fighting people in space for space water.
Yeah. Like, one side is, they're rationing water, so of course they want that comic. It's tons of water. I don't know. I never think about how much in space you'd value resources like that. It's crazy. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Void Rivals. It's good. Check it out. Magic started her solo run this week. Really not much to say about issue 1. Kind of generic. I liked it because I like Magic. The art was good. But not really much to comment on with it. They've set up a villain. There's something going on. They've introduced one side character that we know pretty much nothing about, except that their grandmother, who's like their only caretaker and who is training them in magic, has just died. And they're kind of left with magic for help. So not really tons to say, but I did enjoy it. It's Magic's first solo series, which is like a milestone for her. It's like a new age for X-Men, with Brevoort being the editor here. They're really throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. More solo books in the X-Men line than I think we've had since the 90s.
Yeah, that's my one complaint about X-Men. There are always too many X-Men books. I can never decide what's worth reading.
We had a period, there were too many, and then there weren't enough because they were trying to shove them into the corner and make the Inhumans happen because Fox had the movie rights.
Yeah.
And now Fox doesn't have the movie rights. So they're going to make the X-Men happen.
They would be foolish not to. It's the second most popular thing that they have, other than Spider-Man at this point.
Mm-hmm. And it has the ability to rival Spider-Man when it's like on all cylinders.
Which I guess the movie people would definitely want to do, because if Sony is on track to reclaim their stake in Spider-Man as a cinematic property, what else is there? I don't know. That's my expectation, because it's not as if it would just disappear. They couldn't possibly be foolish enough to sell the film rights back to Disney.
I feel like
that would be crazy.
What they might end up doing is keeping the film rights, but giving Disney more hands off with it.
Yeah.
Is where I kind of feel like it'll go. Disney won't full out own it, but they'll kind of get to do whatever they want, and it'll just be a monetary split. Sony will just take the money and stop trying to use it, maybe. But I don't know if feel like that'd be too smart for Sony to do. Not that I think I'm a genius for saying do that, just that I think Sony is very they don't.
It's very hard to tell.
Like to do obvious
with some
things.
Of the people in charge over there.
Yes, thank you. That's a very tactful.
It's am I a genius, or are they just stupid?
Yeah, what are they, stupid?
How many millions of dollars was that?
Why don't they just let the stuff happen? What are they, stupid? What if they or if they could at least commit to having their own Sony Spider-Man, that'd be cool too.
Yeah.
Okay. Another book I read this week. I read the whole of this series. This is really good. At least I think I didn't. Stop me if I talked about this last week and forgot. I read Extremity.
Extremity.
Yes. So this is a story. It's in some kind of vague post-apocalyptic kind of setting, where we've got a bunch of different we've got all these cities on these floating rocks that are kind of just kind of out there. They've got all these cities on them, little townships. It feels very post-apocalyptic, they're kind of there was some big war, and these are the people that are left over. They all live in their little towns, but they're at war with another tribe. And what has happened is we follow primarily these two children that are the children of the leader of the clan. Their father, they've been attacked a while ago, and their mother and wife was killed, and the daughter was an artist. They cut off her hands, and now she can't draw anymore. And the brother is nothing really bad's happened to him, but he's not a war fight person, so he just doesn't sit well with any of this. And it kind of follows their conflict. He finds a killer robot that's got a heart of gold, and they have to kind of run away with them. And they find like a third group of like peaceful people. A bunch of stuff happens. The robot turns into a big kaiju monster. It gets wild. It's very good though. It's by Daniel Warren Johnson, who is the artist that started off this new Transformers line of comics. Did books like Drop a Power Bomb or like Wonder Woman. I think Dead Earth was him. He's a really good artist and writer, and that book has just, I don't know, just killed it. It's only 12 issues, so it's a pretty quick read. I got it in a hardcover, but yeah, it's sick art, sick story, very relatable. I think anyone who's an artist can relate to the fear of losing your ability to engage with art.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's my number one fear.
Yeah. So I think it's something that a lot of people, especially like if you're an art person, will be able to connect to very like explicitly.
I wouldn't give up if I lost my hands, though. I'm not going to punk out and become one of those AI people. I will figure out how to like draw with my feet or with hold a pencil in my mouth or something.
Honestly, as long as I've got an arm. Now, the more that I draw, the more that I see how much drawing is arm movements.
Yeah.
It would get annoying just because like fingers are useful for doing lots of small details rapidly. But I think you could really like make do with just having an arm. You would, it would take some learning, but you could make do. You could
I wouldn't be able to
something.
draw on my phone anymore, but that just means that I would be drawing less and would be utilizing a larger canvas, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So definitely work aroundable, but I still don't want to. I would like to keep things as they are.
Yeah.
And then I don't have as much to say about this because I haven't really finished it. I've really only got through about 6 volumes of it. But I have been reading Battle Angel Alita and really enjoying that.
I actually have never read that. I've seen the OVA that a lot of people like to reference, and I watched that movie that was seemingly popular, but I guess didn't do very well.
I have only seen the movie. I don't know if I've seen the OVA. I don't remember it very much. I may have like watched it. I think it really just covers like the first. I don't remember how much the OVA covers. It's pretty much just the first story arc up to like that Wormhead guy, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, Makaku or whatever. That's like kind of the first little arc. It's really good though. I really enjoy it. It starts off as like, you know, she gets found and they're hunting stuff. And then the next thing you know, she's like in this weird future sport. And then that arc finishes. And now I don't know exactly where she's going to be. She seems to be a musician now. I've started the next sort of little issue. And nothing's really happened yet. So, you know, I don't know exactly where it's going. Yeah, I'll talk about it more in depth once I finish, but it's really good. I recommend it. It's quite entertaining. I've been getting into reading tons of like cyberpunky stuff lately. Really getting those vibes for my next project.
It's probably my second favorite, like I don't want to say genre, but like setting, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like video games, movies, books. If it's like cyberpunky or just like futuristic sci-fi, I want to get a glimpse, see what's going on.
Indeed.
Which I guess is what makes me such a mark for stuff like Starfield, which everyone says is bad, but I disagree. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think I can say that it's bad in the sense that it seems to be more of the same and not very innovative. Like, you know what I mean? It seems to just be their formula again, but in this setting, which is fine, but not what people were expecting, I think.
It does feel like a game that probably could have come out 20 years ago. but that's why I like it. It is just that, but like polished to a sheen and runs on my modern machine. We need more of that. More games that are just okay by non-modern standards that look like shit. Which I guess we're getting to that point. A lot of fairly standardized types of game design are coming out from people utilizing prefabs and such. Like Unreal has this component system called Blueprints that is kind of like a visual scripting system that a lot of people are really glomming onto. And I'm skeptical because usually a visual scripting system comes with limitations, but maybe limitations are what's needed for certain projects.
I think visual scripts are definitely a thing where if you want to use them, you've got to stick to them, use them the whole way through. But I don't know. I do think that like if you use them for like a design reason, not because you're trying to cover for not having coding knowledge. The only thing I can think of with blueprints.
Which is usually enough. Like it brings to mind something like RPG Maker, which for the longest time, and I think even still now, is a very cool tool for democratizing that particular type of game design because its limitations are still flexible enough for you to be able to do a lot of cool stuff. And you don't get a lot of like overlap of like, oh, this looks exactly like X or Y. That does exist, but people don't talk about those things because they are very obvious and they stick out. I always laugh when I see someone using like default RPG Maker assets in the game and then they publish the game to Steam. It's like, why? I want to see your version of that thing, not the default version.
But they changed the names.
That is usually what happens. Yeah, they just change the name.
It's their special character.
So I guess it's like a narrative device, sort of like how we consider films. It might be good for something like that, as like a toolkit to wrap your project around, as opposed to like building the toolkit around the project.
I can see that.
My apologies. I have drank so many monsters today that my brain is all over the place. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
I don't quite remember how we got there, but man, let's walk it back. Where were we? I don't. I got ADHD brain. I can lose track of a conversation.
A book for research of some kind that had a cyberpunk theme.
Oh yeah. We're talking about how much we like cyberpunk as like a genre or setting, etc. Yeah, no, Battle Angel Alita, very cyberpunky vibes. Yeah, no, that was really all I had to say about Battle Angel Alita. Also don't really have too much to say here. I just want to mention that I started reading it just because it's cute that it exists. A Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Is that a thing?
Yes. This is the MonsterVerse crossing over. This is not in the mainstream continuity, but it's a cute little book. The art's quite good on it. And it's like a fun little schlocky comic book story. I've read the first 2 issues. The first issue is kind of setting it up. It starts off with you seeing Godzilla, then we go back in time a little bit, and it's mostly about Superman getting ready to propose to Lois Lane. And
Again?
then, yeah, well, it's presumably that's what I mean with it not being set in the main continuity.
Yeah.
It would be for the first time, but they're kind of telling that story a little bit. And the evil guys, the League of Doom, or whatever they're calling themselves this week, they're talking about how they need a plan to stop the Justice League. They end up finding like a crystal that grants wishes, and Toyman has it and talks, and I guess somehow wishes for the Titans to fuck up Earth. So Godzilla is on Earth now. Kong is presumably on Earth, but we haven't seen him. A bunch of other Titans that aren't Titans we've seen in the movies, but are clearly supposed to be big kaiju are all around. There's a big Bat one in Gotham issue 2. A lot of the issue is Batman's team handling their Gotham kaiju. It's very fun. There's like a really cool money shot of Batman walking away from the scene of this giant bat kaiju crashing down. I'll post a picture of it in the chat here. It's
Okay.
it's quite good. I don't know. I saw this money shot and I was like, damn, this is like a really good comic shot. Like this is like if you like just want to wank the Batman, it's a really good like bat wanky shot. Oh, where's Discord at? Here's Discord. Throw it in notes here. But it is a
Ooh, that does look good. I'd probably buy like a print of that.
And they had I know one of the gimmick covers they had, because I didn't buy this, but I was a little tempted to, but I didn't, because it was $15 for a floppy of a series that I hadn't picked up the rest of the floppies for. But you could get variant covers that had a little chip that would play, depending on which one you got, Godzilla or Kong, that would play their roar, their little battle cry. Yeah, when you open the comic. What a fucking sick gimmick is that? Oh man. But that's pretty much all this stuff that I had to talk about that I had been reading this week.
Other than Absolute Batman, I have not been reading much. I am very much the kind of reader that's stuck in my series, and the series that I'm stuck in are, manga books for children.
Love manga books for children.
They are cool.
Unironically.
For the last several issues in Chainsaw Man, Denji has been fighting the aging devil, who wants to get eaten by Chainsaw Man for no reason other than, I guess, the aging devil is just suicidal. They've seen everything, but they haven't seen true death because they're immortal. And in the world of Chainsaw Man, if Chainsaw Man eats a devil, the negative effects that the devil, I guess, evokes on the world at large gets erased. So the Japanese government wants the aging devil to also get eaten so that they can remove aging from the human experience. And so they're working with that guy to make it happen. And it's getting crazy. It's very weird. All of the people who were fans of this one character, what's her name? Fumi? Hopefully someone corrects me, but Fumi's back. For the longest time, it's like, where is she? She's been doing her job. She was a government agent. But there's a weird twist where as government agents, they're obligated to sacrifice certain parts of their body to the aging devil so that the aging devil can fight Chainsaw Man. And after losing liver, eyeball, and heart, you'd expect these people to be dead, but then she comes back. She has a doppelganger, And that's like the big stinger to the end of the last issue. Really looking forward to seeing what happens with that character on Tuesday. That book is crazy. I would love to talk about all the crazy stuff that happens, but it would just be a bunch of spoilers.
I've gotta catch up. I've been buying the volumes as they release, but
Ooh,
I've not really read since the last big, that big like kind of separation they did where they had the hiatus, that first big arc ends, and then
yeah.
I'm there. And I've not picked up reading because I kind of want to read it in a big chunk like I did the first one. I read like the first, I was following it from the beginning at first, and I followed it like that for maybe 60 chapters, and then I stopped. And then I read all of the rest of like the first big story arc at once. So I need
And
to
then
catch
the
up on it.
only other book that I've been following that got a new chapter this week was the manga adaptation for Goddess of Victory, which I won't talk about because it's a gag manga. Nothing particularly interesting happens in it. It's that particular genre of Japanese book where it's like cute girls doing cute things. If you are at a particularly like low mental point, you'll probably think what's happening is funny. But other than that, nothing else really going on my end. I have some interesting things that I wanted to share
Oh yeah.
that might be interesting. So I'm not a wireless device guy. I don't like earbuds. I always plug in my controllers. But I saw this and I thought, maybe it's time for me to buy some earbuds. I probably won't because $429 is too much. But a Sennheiser Miku crossover product is very appealing. Appealing enough for me to consider disregarding my ideals as a non wireless person. Mostly just because I can't see myself being able to repair wireless earbuds if they break. That's my biggest issue. And the asking investment of $429 for the Momentum 4 true wireless Bluetooth earbuds, just because they're Miku branded somehow, is too much. But it looks cool.
They do look cool. I also would not pay this amount for headphones. I don't like earbuds in your earbuds. They're really bad for me.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
says that it's the worst possible thing that you could do for your hearing, which is why I stick to the normal, like open back headphones whenever I
Yep.
can.
Yep. I use over the ear open back headphones. Um, Not because I think I'm preserving my hearing, mostly because in ear earphones for me, so it might be a little TMI. My ears like to get waxy, especially in the summer. So if I use in ear headphones, it like blocks up my ears and I have to get them like cleared out or it like hurts and I can't hear shit.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's very annoying. I didn't know this until like I was because I was using earbuds every day for work for a long time. And then one summer, I just had like I just like couldn't hear, or my ears were like felt like they were clogged up, and then I started getting pain. I went to the doctor, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got like a blockage." They're like, "Oh, do you use Q-tips? Because you're not supposed to put those in your ear, and that can make that happen too." I was like, "No, because the box says not to." But I listen to headphones a lot, and he's like, "Oh, that'll do it." And I had it happen to me like 3 or 4 times. I haven't gone to the doctor for it since because you can like clean it out at home once you know what to do. But
Right.
for some reason those really like to do that. It just it pushes it back and then it starts a reaction of like build up and
Have you considered a bone conducting sound source of any type?
never,
Never.
never tried a bone conducting sound thingy.
Depending on, I guess, what quality of sound you're into, you might not find a difference. They do tend to be expensive though. So if it's not something you've ever tried out, it might be too costly to just like see if you like it or not.
Mm.
But I used to have a pair that I really liked. They built them into glasses frames, which is why I never got around to replacing them because the frames broke. That pissed me off because I had to buy new glasses. And so I
Ooh.
decided to get glasses that don't vibrate. So I never replaced them, but I loved those glasses because I could put them on. I'm at work doing my computer thing. Nobody knows I'm listening to rap music and black metal, and it's just vibrating in my skull.
That's so cool. How much does
So,
that cost, did you say?
the glasses that I had,
Yeah, or I guess, yeah. How
I
much do the
hadn't
glasses
mentioned,
cost?
but the
And how
pair that
much
I
generally
had
does it?
were like $200-ish.
Okay.
I don't know what the cost is now because I've not really bothered looking it up. I remember Amazon having their own brand of something like that, but I don't remember what that cost either.
Mhm.
But yeah, a little more costly than a normal pair of frames, but the fact that it is just like a Bluetooth receiver with some bone conducting speakers, I wouldn't want to pay more than 200, maybe 300. But yeah, that's all I had. I've been just working on personal stuff since the last episode. I'm all in on getting over this hurdle I have where my body doesn't want to make comics for some reason. I don't know if it's a formatting issue, like if I'm not finding the formats that I like with the panel placements and such, or if it's some other kind of like psychological thing. So I've just been trying to brute force that while working on other stuff.
Relatable. Relatable. I have been trying to plug away at comic pages. I've rewritten stuff. I rewrote some of my plans for my comic right now. So I scrapped some flashback that I was going to do and replaced it with something I think fits better. So I'm sketching out those pages, but just had a rough time this week doing anything new. So I've mostly been like working on in progress pages that I already had going and trying to get those closer to the finish line. Since I've just
Mm.
been like too not um too just not with it to get new writing done or like new concepting for like scenes. I got the idea there, but I just can't get down to, like you said, my body just doesn't want to sit down and sketch out the thumbnails and the rough drafts and just get started doing it.
Yeah.
Real executive dysfunction hours or days in my apartment.
I might be overcomplicating my process because one thing that I want to do with my comics is that every page should be able to be broken down into its base components. Like um, when I open the file, I should be able to, when looking at a particular panel, separate the panel from all of the other panels. And then, like, the foreground elements are their own thing, the background elements are their own thing. But then also, those can be expanded into a larger illustration. It's something that I've been conceptualizing for, I guess, about a year now. I started early last year trying to figure out how to streamline this because You remember when AI was like new and all of these like schmoes were blowing their brains out over how amazing they thought it was that you could take a painting and then like
Oh,
the
expand the
painting is
edge of the
one by
painting.
one and then you like expand the painting to be 16 by 9 or something like that. I want
Hmm.
to have something like that baked in to the comics. Like you have a panel, but then somewhere out there in the world, there's a version of that panel that is just like a full illustration. And I'm realizing that I might be giving myself extra work by trying to commit to that, but I want to because I think it's very cool. Like you could have the full illustration that encompasses that one panel reflect like additional information not present in the story. And depending on the kind of story that you're writing, that could be cool for someone. Like reading the book and then looking at a particular panel and that panel like informing more of that particular scene.
Hmm.
It's kind of like that Dark Souls thing where as you're playing the game is like giving you the story through item descriptions in tandem with everything else that's happening.
Yeah, it's kind of like when or just put real when they do character storytelling through the environment. You know, when you see someone's house and they're communicating to you that this person is an alcoholic, not by telling you that or you seeing them drinking, but by having 8 empty alcohol bottles next to the bed or something, right? That kind of,
Yeah.
you can add that kind of detail to the environment, little items, little things that exist in the world that aren't there that you wouldn't notice if you didn't hype, uh, be the full illustration, but maybe isn't crucial to understand.
I also feel like it might be a good utilization for something like motion comics. Like if I wanted to take what I've already put together for a page and expand it into something else, all the work has already been done. Like if I have a full illustration of a particular background, I could just use that in like a visual novel version of the comic.
Mhm.
Maybe someone wants to read the story, but they don't want to read comics. Maybe they would prefer a TikTok version. I've already got all the components necessary. So that's where my mind is. And it's a struggle because all the material I have, it only teaches one way to like do the comic process. And I already know I'm not good at like just making comics normally. So this extra thing I'm doing is putting a burden on my brain.
Oh yeah, I mean it sounds cool, but it definitely is a lot of workload. Because like for me, part of the beauty of sequentials is not always having to do a full illustration.
Yeah, the
Uh,
art is in what you don't draw.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always trying to train myself to pull back, because I get into like a very robotic mode of drawing where I tend to feel like, oh, I have to fill up every empty space or I have to completely capture what reality would look like here or something. You know what I mean? Like I have
Yeah,
to completely capture almost like I'm taking a picture of an event happening. I have to get all of it. But I don't really. You really just need a background once in a scene to establish it. And from there, when it's necessary. So pulling back and figuring out where I can cut things out like that saves me so much time that I wouldn't want to not do it. That I would want to do what you're attempting, but I think it's sick to do. I think from a reader perspective, I will enjoy it when it's all done. But oh my God, does that sound like work?
yeah,
I have
it's
some friends
mostly
that
just like the planning of it is the hardest so far.
mm, I can imagine.
And maybe I'm just working at it backwards. I don't know. I'll figure it out eventually. But that's what I've been doing.
Well, it's a process. It's all a process. It's all living, learning, doing. All art is kind of problem solving in a
True.
way. I saw something really cool the other day about how they teach a math wrong, because math should really be taught more like art, because it kind of is more art based when you get down to what you actually do with math, which is like thinking about things and asking questions and doing stuff. Like it's way more of a feely kind of thing, because you're trying to intuit your way through logic and stuff. But they teach it wrong, because instead of teaching you the process of like mapping out like an area formula, they just teach you to memorize it. But if you actually had to problem solve through the proof of it, then you actually kind of get a vibe for it more. You understand it more intuitively. Because we don't do that with people, it leads to people not getting math, and they're like, "Oh, I hate this. This sucks. I hate drawing." It's like the art equivalent of being mad about drawing squares in your art class or cubes in your art class,
Yeah.
because you don't see how it fits, or how it's used, or what you're learning really. So another criticism I see with, because have you ever seen Drawbox? That's like that
Yes.
website. Its way of teaching you art is kind of teaching you how to draw simple forms and in perspective before you
Right.
really even realize like how crucial that is in drawing everywhere. You know, it sort of
True.
handles it like less of a thing you learn later. You know what I mean? It tries to start you off there very explicitly, but it can be boring, you know? People
Yeah.
don't understand the value of knowing how to rotate an object in 3D space for drawing. Until you get into a point in drawing where it really clicks to you that you're trying to like represent like a 3D object in some way.
I
Um,
remember when I was like, I think 9 or 10, and they were teaching us how to do perspective. And, that exercise where it's like, uh, find the vantage line, and then you are like drawing all of those lines to
mhm,
emulate the depth. And it
mhm.
took me forever to understand that, mostly just because I did not know where the vantage point was supposed to be. And it turns out the simplest way to find the vantage point is to just create a foreground element. You don't have to commit to it, but having a reference to compare to it does help. But
Mhm.
they weren't teaching that.
Yeah. I actually never got an art class in school ever.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was homeschooled, so it was kind of just very free form. Anything that needed like direct instruction, I would have to ask my parents for, but they rarely ever said no. I'm trying to remember things that they said no to. Oh, they were very cagey about chemistry. Anything involving chemicals, they're kind of like, just read a book.
Yeah, we don't want you going all. You don't need to learn how to make meth, son.
Yeah,
Keep too much pseudoephedrine in the house for you to learn chemistry, boy.
I believe it.
Yeah. So, and other things this week, I feel like I have to rant about this, because I have to rant about this, even though it's a little adjacent, or it's a little offbeat of what the podcast normally is. But I got to complain about Zuckerberg. I got
Oh
to
yeah,
complain about Mark Zuckerberg
that
and his
guy.
Yeah, I tell you what, ever since November, it's just been slew after slew of like anti-LGBT attack.
Yeah,
From arguments for the minor care ban at the Supreme Court being up in the air, from Idaho putting forward paperwork to formally ask the Supreme Court to readdress the Obergefell gay marriage ruling, which assuming it happened, would be really weird. Which, if it happened, would necessitate them ruling the Marriage Equality Act, which requires all states in the country to acknowledge marriages from other states, unconstitutional, which would be a big blow. And then at some point after that, they would probably follow up with interracial marriage, just because they're really not stopping anywhere. But anyway, so that's all been well and good. It is what it is. But then Mark Zuckerberg this week meets with Trump, kisses the ring, because I guess what he really wants is to absorb TikTok, as he's hoping. I don't know how Meta's doing. I assume they're doing worse every year. I never actually look at them, but I just feel like their user base can't be growing. There no one who's younger than me that I know of really uses Facebook. I don't use Facebook. I don't
Yeah,
even
I was a
know
bit
any older people than
incredulous
me.
about the concept of Meta like doing badly, but then I was reminded that Threads exists and no one's using Threads.
Yeah, it boasts user count because they like automatically count Instagram and Facebook users.
Mm.
I downloaded Threads. I tried Threads. It sucked ass. It was not good to use. It was missing lots of crucial features. Instagram is just really bad now, so I bet it's bad. But anyway, here's the point. The point is they have rolled back, like so many other companies, they have rolled back all of their DEI policies, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. And they've done a lot of like really petty stuff too. Stuff that like, it's almost like, did they get a fucking list of things they have to do, or what are they going after? So they renamed these messenger themes. I mean, these are small things. These don't actually hurt anybody. It's like the idea behind it, the willful intent to go through and find these, rename them, then remove them, and remove the blog post announcing that they existed for these LGBTQ related themes, which are just color themes. Right? These are just color themes.
Right.
But they have to be removed completely. This is a bit of a controversy. The hate speech rules they changed to explicitly allow hate speech in regards to LGBTQ people. The examples they give being things like insinuating being LGBTQ is a mental illness. Totally cool thing to say now on Facebook. That is literally a quoted example they give of what is considered acceptable speech, which is by far the most egregious thing that they did, alongside rolling back their fact checking. So there will not be any more fact checking. It will be a community note style feature. And their total obfuscation of the harm social media causes to children. So now you've got like, you're enabling bullies, you're enabling hate speech, you're obfuscating how much damage this does to people's mental health. You're leaning into this. And then to top it all off, this one affects even fewer people, but like is even more like petty. They had put in tampons into the men's restroom for trans and non-binary employees.
That's good.
And they are removing them.
That's bad.
Yeah, to what? Oh, and I guess they're going to move to Texas. They're going to move their headquarters to Texas, is the plan. So yeah, I don't.
Right, I remember the excuse he gave for that. The implication being that only neolibs live in California, and so by having the moderation board operating out of Texas, the idea is that they'll be impartial and unbiased. And it's like, I'm pretty sure normal moderators are impartial and unbiased when it comes to stuff that isn't like illegal.
It's always like for some reason they call the right-leaning stuff unbiased. Like it's only unbiased if it agrees with them. If it doesn't agree with them, it's biased. That's just what, I don't know. It's very bizarre. Zuckerberg has no spine, has no beliefs, has no anything. Totally just in the billionaire class, doesn't give a fuck about anyone. So none of this is surprising. It shouldn't be surprising that the cost of doing business, he's going to pay it. It's just amazing how petty this is, how minor and small the changes are, but they had to do them. And I guess it's causing revolt in some of their employees. A lot of I mean, yeah, I imagine they do. Working in tech, they're going to have a lot of LGBTQ employees that are affected by this because the tech build's full of a lot of people that are queer. It always has been
Yeah.
because it tends to be a place where where people swing a little more liberal just because it's a more educated circle. This weird, the whole libertarian tech bro thing is a new trend. It seems like, to me anyway. When I was a kid, we did not, like, I don't remember tech bros being idolized for their weird right wingy values. If anything, it felt like they were hardcore anarchists if you were going hard into the like tech hacker space or something, right? So
Right.
I don't know, it just feels very weird to be that's how this, but money, right? Billionaires and money. So yeah, I just had to bitch about that. It's because it sucks and it's petty and it's mean. And Meta should, I mean, if you have Meta accounts, consider stopping. I mean, you do whatever you got to do. I'm not here to tell you how to live, but I am dropping my Meta stuff. And I mean, I've dropped Facebook years ago. I dropped Facebook probably 2016, maybe a little earlier. It was around the time of the first Trump election. I was just off Facebook. I saw the way the tides were turning then, as far as them not giving a fuck about misinformation and shit on their platform. And, it's only going to get worse.
I
Yeah.
might get off of Instagram. I only just recently started using it because everyone else was using it. And I liked opening the app on a like every other day because they had a feature to allow you to follow tags. And so I was just getting only stuff I wanted to see. But now they're taking away the ability to follow tags. And if there is like a Meta boycott going on, I don't really have any other Meta products that I'm using or have an account on. So I might consider getting off of Instagram, or at least anything I put won't be like actual engaging content. It'll probably just be links elsewhere until they get on the Elon Musk boat and start blocking stuff that links out of the site. Because it is still I semi-value as a communication platform. That's how they get you almost.
They're trying to, this is the other thing too they're doing with the AI profiles. They want to make the sites feel more engaging. So they throw in AI users to make you think that you're being engaged with, so you stay on their app.
Not unlike
insane.
Twitter bots that will like the random innocuous stuff that I post, but then nothing of actual value that I post on Twitter.
But yeah, so that is all I have for this week.
I was supposed to have a tool to share. I don't know how many of our listeners use Blender. Over the last few months, I've been slowly learning Blender and trying to figure out like different ways to work it into my workflow. And I came across this weird tool. It's like a plugin for Blender that you bake into your post-processing like batch, or it's all node based, so it's kind of hard for me to describe, but like you have different sets of processing nodes that feed into each other and then feed into an output. Nope, not that. Don't know why that was in my clipboard.
Hold on, it looks familiar. What is this from? He looks so familiar to me.
That's Russ from
Silicon
Silicon Valley.
He's,
Valley. One of the first investors of Hooli. He's my favorite character because all he cares about is being rich.
Yeah, he's obsessed with being a billionaire. 3 commas.
Okay, so this is the actual thing that I wanted to link. It's a product from a company called PSoft. They call it Pencil Plus Line. And it is one of those non-realistic render sort of things where it allows you to direct, like where on the edges of objects you want lines to appear, how thin they are, how thick they are, do they taper, do they wibble like an episode of what's that show with the psychiatrist? Can't remember all of a sudden. I'll remember it like 4 hours from now and I'll embarrass myself. It's one of those H. John Benjamin shows. But
Oh,
yeah, a really cool tool. I've been liking like throwing it on my very unprofessional, uninteresting like baby's first primitives and seeing the results just to familiarize myself with it. And at the bottom of this promo page, they show that it was used for those Evangelion movies. And that made me go, whoa. So it's actually being used in stuff. They show pictures of characters in these promos, but what it's actually getting used for is like this satellite that they show in the third image and like the Evangelion mechs. I don't think this actually gets used for any characters, even though it could. If you wanted it to mimic a drawn line, it's definitely capable of doing so, it seems. Maybe just like a base, you'd still want to be drawing something. It would probably be used for something in a Spider-Verse like pipeline. But I like it. It's pretty cool. And yeah, anyone familiar with Blender, check this out. How does it compare with grease pencil, stuff like that?
wow. I mean, this looks really cool. I know nothing about Blender, so this stuff just blows my mind. My brain melts when I look at it.
It is a crazy tool that does too much, but that's why I like it. It's also free. My 3D program of choice used to be Modo, but it is so damn expensive. And I love Modo at this point. I know more about Modo than any other like program that you can like create 3D models and like do special renders in and stuff. However, Blender is free and it can do everything every other application can do. So I've got to learn it.
Yeah, I have started Blender tutorials many times and just never gotten. Whenever I'm like doing game dev stuff, I'm always like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to make low poly stuff in Blender and make all my own assets and make the perfect game ever. And I will be notch but good. And then I don't.
That is a good goal, though, being a notch but good. Especially now that he's trying to do Minecraft too. It's
Oh
like,
my
whoa.
god, that tweet was so.
I hope
Didn't
some
that feel
people come out of
embarrassing
woodwork
a
to
little
like
bit?
kick his ass.
I don't know. Didn't that feel like embarrassing for him a little bit? Like I was reading that tweet, like I don't know, because I felt like I can't. What
It was
exactly did he
written very
say?
strange.
It felt very sorry for himself, almost. Like
That's normal for him, though. He's been on that kick for years.
okay, see, I don't. All I know about him is that he's kind of like a piece of shit right winger.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit that's like, woe is me.
Yeah,
While he like
fucking
blows $1
rich
million.
off his ass.
So here we go. I basically announced Minecraft 2. I thought that maybe people actually do want me to make another game that's super similar to the first one. And I'm loving working on games again. I don't super duper care exactly which game I make first, or even if I make more, but I do know I'm making one. So I figured I'd be absolutely willing to give it an honest shot in the form of a spiritual successor to Minecraft and put up a poll about it. My intentions are to be clear and honest about it, saying that spiritual successors is usually kind of, washed up, tragic. The things I'm fearing my next game is going to be anyway, and try to push myself to avoid. So why not do the thing that people do want and are willing to give me somehow even more cash for. Ooh. You know who this sounds like to me? That Grums guy.
Oh God, that Grums guy.
I feel like Notch might just be burnt out, and whenever he's not feeling sorry for himself for his project not taking off because maybe he spent all that time not cultivating the sauce, whatever that entails, he's just going to lean more into all of that other nonsense he's been on.
Yeah.
We'll
Grums
see.
was tangentially related to a good game like 30 years ago and tries to live off that.
I wonder what was even his involvement in that. Now I want to look it up.
I don't even really know.
What was his job at Blizzard? I swear, if he's like a marketing guy or something. Let's see.
You know, that
What
happened.
was
Some
his
marketing
role?
people from Riot went out and made an MMO, and they advertised as being from people from Riot, but like it was marketing people for Riot. So no wonder it. Oh, I'm trying to remember what I watched that on, but that was really funny. It'll come back to me later, or it won't. You won't know, listener. You'll never find out unless
So
it's
he was a
next week.
team lead on World of Warcraft, but I want to know what he was doing before World of Warcraft. Because it doesn't seem like there's any reason for anyone to care about anything that this guy says. Like,
yeah,
does he actually make video games? I don't think he does.
He's working on a project now, but people call it a Kickstarter scam for the most part.
He joined Blizzard in 1997, serving as associate producer for StarCraft. So he's just an ideas guy. Like, what does a associate producer do?
Yeah, he's a yeah. And people have been critiquing the fact that he's got a lot of money for his current game project and it's not coming out, and he's got a lot of stuff going on. The guy's kind of a big clown. And now he's on the culture war grift, as clowns often do.
He should be learning Blender like the rest of us. He could probably make an actual game in Godot or something.
Yeah,
instead of doing whatever he's doing now.
You know, but that takes work and stuff. But right now, he can just like, he can just, all he has to do now is just say, "Whoa, that's too woke for me, dog," and then millions of views. Or not millions of views. I don't know if he gets millions of views. He gets more views than most of the people on those like fucking,
all the grifter people like filter their stuff through him.
Yeah,
which is why it's most important for him to like be deplatformed, because it'll at least like lessen some of that. Because a lot of those types, they're followers. They're looking for someone to tell them what to be angry about.
Yeah, I guess that's why it's all like a pyramid thing. That's why their views get lower as you go down the stream, because there's those people watching them for it, because they got it from all the people already. But I do get the feeling that a lot of them will watch like 8 videos on the same fucking topic, like 3 different people.
There is a server I'm in. It's supposed to be an art server, but most of like the most active users are people who aren't drawing. And it's just like people passing around a dozen links about the same fake topic. Like the most recent fake controversy is that Square announced that they will be proactively seeking the dismissal of people who harass like staff members of Square. So like, every few months you hear about something happening with the company, and then people find a scapegoat to target, and that person gets harassed into oblivion. Square is saying that if they have any path to recourse for any individual that represents them, that like becomes a victim of these weird internet mobs, they will revoke access to any people involved in the mobbing. So like if Square sees me harassing whoever was responsible for making Tifa's boobs smaller in the Final Fantasy VII remake, they might go to my Steam account and take away my copy of Final Fantasy VII, which is super cool. They probably wouldn't take away a copy of a game, but they could like revoke your access to the MMO or something.
Mm-hmm. Or
And I
maybe
think it's cool that,
PlayStation Plus access or something.
and it's awesome that like they are publicly saying that that's at least on the table. Like action will be taken on the behalf of the individual in those
There will
scenarios.
be consequences for
But all the
actions.
grifters, they're making their shitty videos where they're like, Square's joining the woke mind virus or whatever dumb shit. And in that server, there are like 6 different links of that. And I'm wondering, why am I here? Obviously I'm there for the other artists, but it also like feels annoying that like there are other artists there. We're having conversations about art, but then elsewhere in the server, these like losers are allowed to just basically spam uh, Gamergate conservative neocon nonsense. I should just leave that server, but I don't
It-
want to. It feels like
like
admitting defeat.
I totally get you on that. It does sound like kind of a fucked server a little bit, but yeah, staying for the people.
The moment
that
I
are
leave, someone will remark, "Oh, he's gone. Good riddance," and that makes me angry. I want to deprive them of that fake satisfaction.
Yup. Yup. Leaving a server is actually low key really difficult. Especially if it's a server that like you're somewhat involved in or have any like history with. Because like, I don't know, you know that there's gonna be some kind of reaction to it eventually. If you're a significant enough figure in the server. And not being able to see that does kind of drive me insane. So like I will like not leave servers just to avoid I don't know.
It's definitely a component of what they call social media addiction. How to overcome it, I don't know.
Yeah, I remember I left the Ben Saint server and like I felt weird about that for like a solid week.
It's gotten kind of better. No, I would be lying if I said that. It's just an off
uh,
season.
the writers really fell off. After the RV arc, they peaked and they never really they jumped the shark with that RV arc.
I think even worse than leaving a server is getting kicked from a server and no reason is given. Like, if I know the reason for being kicked or banned, then that's okay. That's something that like I can roll over in my head. But if I just lose access and I don't know why, it's like, what did I do wrong?
I left a server once because I got muted in the art post channel for like some reason. They didn't tell me what. And I was like,
I hate
was
when that
pissed off
happens.
about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking leave. Because like, they wouldn't tell, like, I just noticed one day I was, banned from that channel. I'm like, I didn't really spam it. I wasn't really like, just I felt like I was posting a normal amount, but they got pissy about it. So
I remember one time I posted a semi-realistically shaped picture of Homer Simpson with his shirt off. So like he has the Homer Simpson man boobs. And I thought it would be okay because everyone there was a hentai artist. But no, they hated that.
wow.
I was immediately excommunicated.
That unfortunate.
But it happens. Can't get too beat up over it. I probably could just leave that one weird server because the majority of the conversation taking place is just like people spamming right wing links. But Not today.
Yeah, not on this day.
Let's see, what are they talking about now? Beyblade.
Okay,
Huh, that's normal.
yeah. There you go. Just saw the N word. I kid. I'm not in there. I have a one server though, and they will post screen caps of our conservative Discord, and well, I don't know if it's our conservative Discord, but it's like the big conservative politics Discord that exists. And man, that place is a hellhole. I don't understand how those people even stay in there, even just to get memes. I wouldn't want my account associated with that server profile. I don't want my metadata getting all mixed up in it.
Oh yeah. We know that Discord has a huge bot problem, so there probably is like no shortage of bots going around and indexing all of that without us
Yeah.
knowing.
Yeah, it's so weird to think of how much like years of communication you have stored, and like it's just sitting there. They have it for like so many millions of people. So they're sitting on so much data there. It's insane. I wish I remembered more where I actually saw this, but like, with some billionaire was saying something along the lines of like how AI is and how data is and everything, we'll basically have total 100% surveillance soon of like the population. I guess just because with AI, you can go through all this information so well. Um, it, combine that with like your phone GPS and all this other stuff. You basically do. That's like wild to think about. What a time to be alive. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. I have been and will continue to be SnakeJess Draws. You can find me on Patreon. You can find Wow Sun on Tapath or on Blue Sky, where new pages get posted every week. Or on Patreon, where I sporadically dump new pages as soon as I've dubbed them.
And I'm Julian. You can find my stuff on vqcd.in. You might not see anything from me for a while, though, because I am falling into the Mark Kern rabbit hole. I'm now obsessed with finding out what this guy's deal is. I don't know why so many people care about a glorified ideas guy.
Right? It blows my mind. We're gonna
It's
have to do
disturbing.
the Grums episode or something. But we both have to like pill ourselves on it and just take an episode to rant about what the fuck is going on with this.
Maybe. I'm wondering if this might be bad for me just because it's like so stupid and
You found
everything
a
like
nemesis.
tangentially around everything associated with this guy is just awful. Like, you know how a lot of these people complaining about video games don't actually play video games? It just becomes worse the more I look at. Like, I'm actually my jaw dropped reading some of the stuff that I was seeing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't follow my example. If you're listening, dear listener, and you see weird stuff like that, like this one account that came up that flabbergasted me. They're talking about how Capcom is pro LGBT, and so now it's not a good company. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm not looking at this anymore. It sucks. I hate it.
But
Terrible end to an episode.
But we don't hate you, dear listener. Thanks for listening.